In this video, I'm going to tell you about the dark side of ACCA qualification. Look, I'm not against ACCA. I've been teaching it for the last 28 years. So as your mentor, it's my responsibility to tell you not only the advantages of ACCA, but the drawbacks as well. While ACCA is an internationally recognized accounting certification, which is accepted in many countries, it has many limitations. So let's explore the challenges you'll come across while pursuing this path. The best part of this video is that I'm not going to only talk about the dark side of ACCA, I'm going to give you useful suggestions how to overcome those obstacles. So if you're considering ACCA or you're currently enrolled, stick around, you may want to hear this. Hi, I'm the Commerce Specialist. Welcome to my channel where I cover learning outcomes of various academic qualifications and professional certifications, including life-changing business ideas and hacks. The very first drawback ACCA has is that it's time-consuming and it's expensive. Now, when I say time-consuming, it has 13 papers. You have to pass 13 papers to get certified. And the average time for most of the students to complete ACCA is around 3 to 4 years. I'm not talking about the above average students who may complete it in 2.5 years, but generally on an average students take around 3 to 4 years to complete this qualification. The other issue with ACCA is that it's very expensive. You have to pay initial registration, annual subscription, you have to pay for the exam fees of the paper, and obviously you have to pay the tuition fees. So we are talking about tuition fees of 13 papers, exam fees of 13 papers. Unless you qualify, you have to pay annual subscription. And if you fail in any of the papers, which is quite normal, you have to pay again for the exam fees. Here I emphasize, I'm not talking about those students who do it super quick, because exceptions cannot be taken as examples. So the drawback we just talked about is that it is expensive and time consuming. What can you do about it? The best way to come out of it is that there should be a minimum time gap between you completing the syllabus and appearing in the exam. The bigger the time gap between completing your syllabus and giving the exam, the higher the probability that you're going to fail. And if that happens, it's going to extend your ACCA period, you're going to take longer to complete it, and obviously it's going to cost you more. I always recommend my students do not abuse ACCA's flexibility of giving one paper at a time. If you do that, you'll end up completing ACCA in donkey years. Other issue with this qualification is the passing percentage. Though ACCA clearly says that the passing marks is 50%, but getting this 50% is a task. Understand that ACCA is primarily in English. Most of the Asian students find difficult passing ACCA not because of the subject, but because of the language barrier. Because most of the Asian students, English is not their mother tongue. For students who have English as their mother tongue, they don't have much difficulty. But for others, they really have to work on their language skills. Because if you cannot understand the question, how would you solve it? Let me tell you, don't get carried away with the passing percentage, which is 50%. As I told you, 50%, scoring 50% is a task. ACCA is a tough qualification. You really have to earn it. It requires serious commitment, consistency, and perseverance, which most of the students lack. Most of the students think that if they enroll in ACCA, they will come out certified, but that's not the case. You really have to work hard to pass the exam, especially certain papers. I don't want to name them. So now what you can do to overcome the difficulty level of ACCA papers. My humble suggestion to you is do not attempt to study ACCA paper on your own. Unless you are a super genius, you are way above average, you have accounting background. Now here I want to tell you, most of the students, they think they have studied accounting in their college or school, so yes, they know accounting. Let me tell you, the way to approach ACCA syllabus is entirely different than what you have studied in your school and college. So even if you have the background, make sure you study with a specialist. You have to do a lot of research. Find who is the specialist in that particular paper. Obviously, if you study with a specialist, it's going to cost you. But don't look at it as a cost. Look at it as an investment. It's an investment which will give you lifelong returns. So I'm giving you a disclaimer. I'm not promoting myself, but I'm just giving you an example here. Many students contact me and in the end they say, sir, you are very expensive. So let me tell you, yes, I am expensive. I am not self-boasting, but I'm telling you, quality will never come cheap. You may find teachers who are just starting to teach ACCA. They are experimenting on you. You may find teachers who have accounting qualification, but they may not have relevant certification to teach a professional qualification. And there are many in the market. You won't have difficulty finding them. There are many in the market. So I want you to decide, is it right to study with an inexperienced teacher, with a quack? What happens in the end? In the end, you don't finish the syllabus, you don't know the content well, and finally you end up failing the paper. When you fail the paper, you not only lose your money, you lose your time, you lose your motivation and self-confidence. And by repeatedly trying to do so, you arrive at a conclusion that ACCA is not my piece of cake. So my advice to you is study with a specialist. I'm not talking about myself. Study with anybody who has been there, who has done that, who has the experience, so that you get rid of the paper in the first go. Other issue with ACCA qualification is, since the exams are very rigorous, along with it comes immense stress. The pressure to perform well is immense, especially when you are juggling with work, study, and personal life. And this leads to burnout for many students. And let's not forget the stress of resitting the exam if you fail. My suggestion to beat stress is a foolproof preparation with a specialist. Make sure you have completed your syllabus, you have done your revision kits, you have done all the practice material, you have done the 3 marks, and never sit in an exam unless you score 70 plus in your mock exams. One issue with ACCA qualification is that, yes, even after completing ACCA, sometimes you may feel disconnected with the world. Many students find it challenging to apply what they learn in books on practical situations. While ACCA gives you the knowledge, but the application of that knowledge might be difficult without hands-on experience. What best you can do is choose your faculty, choose your tutor, choose the person you're studying with, and make sure that person has been in the industry. If your tutor does not have the practical experience, for example, if you're studying audit and your teacher is just ACCA qualified, he or she has not done audit themselves, how can they tell you about the practical application? They can only tell you what's there in the book. So research in this area is your responsibility. Make sure your teacher is from the industry and fully certified so that you can get the best of both worlds. Another problem with ACCA qualification is, though it is globally recognized, but most of the time it does not match with the local requirements of a specific country. While this qualification is highly recognized in many countries, but at the same time, other countries don't know about ACCA. What is ACCA? Some call it Acca. I mean, many people tell me, what is Acca? Because I've traveled different countries, so I'm just telling you. This issue can limit your job prospects, especially if you're targeting a specific local market. The other problem is the big brother. The big brother is, ACCA called chartered accountants, big brothers. Now, most of the countries have their own chartered accountants, including UK. UK have Institute of Chartered Accountants of England and Wales, which produce chartered accountants. India has Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. Pakistan has Institute of Chartered Accountants of Pakistan, so on and so forth. So if you are an ACCA, let's suppose you are an ACCA and you're trying to find a job in India, let me tell you, I'm not demotivating you. An organization where CAs, means chartered accountants, hold top designations and positions, they never hire ACCAs. They form lobby and they only hire chartered accountants. So it is difficult for ACCAs to get into those organizations. If at all they hire you, they make sure that you don't get a dominating position, a top position. It will always be held by them. So I'm not only talking about chartered accountants, even I'm talking about CPAs. So organization where there are chartered accountant and CPAs, if you're trying to get a job into those organizations, bright chances are that you will not be able to make it. If at all you are able to make it, you will not get the desired position or quick career progression, because there is always a chartered accountant sitting on top and making sure that you don't progress. I'm not against chartered accountants or CPAs, but I'm just telling you the ugly truth. So what can you do about it? On a lighter note, do the same. If you are an ACCA working in an organization, you dominate the finance department, make sure you don't hire CPAs or other chartered accountants. On a serious note, what you can do is make sure that you have additional skills, some additional certifications in data analytics, business modeling, blockchain, the contemporary ones which are related to accounting and finance, so that you're able to counter the difficulties. Another dark side of the story is that while ACCA is getting more and more popular day by day, at the same time the supply of ACCA is increasing. And the basic rule of economic, if the supply is high, the demand goes less. If every second person is an ACCA, obviously there are so many ACCAs and they are chasing fewer jobs. So there will be cutthroat competition. And this oversupply of ACCA makes it harder to stand out, especially when you're starting out. So what's my suggestion here? Yes, it's a reality that there are so many ACCA certified professionals already in the market and you are about to become one. What you can do is you must work on your skill sets. Now, when I say skill sets, I'm talking about soft skills, I'm talking about technical skills, I'm talking about additional certification, some courses which are relevant to accounting and finance. What I would advise you is just hunt and target. Target one specific industry, one specific company. Check what softwares are used there, what skill set are specifically required in that industry, in that company. Try to polish them before you apply there. Once you apply them, they look at, okay, this person is not only ACCA certified, but has the specific skill set, whether it be soft skills or technical skills, which are pertinent to their company, their industry, and I can assure you, you will be hired. Other issue facing this ACCA qualification is the lack of specialization. Now, if you ask me, last 28 plus years I'm into teaching this qualification, is like, if somebody tells me that he or she is an ACCA, the way I look at them is they will have expertise in audit, financial reporting, and maybe taxation. This is what I look at. Even if you look at the optional papers, we are talking about advanced taxation, advanced financial management, advanced performance management, and advanced audit. What about forensics, data analytics, business modeling? And there are so many new niches which are coming now, which requires a lot of attention, which is catching attentions of industries and employers. Do you have that skill set? The answer is no. Here you and I cannot do much. ACCA has to play a role. Here let me tell you, ACCA is also surveying, researching about new trends, and they're trying to incorporate into the curriculum. Though you can't do much about it, but you got to be proactive in this area. And as I said earlier, you got to have additional and contemporary skill sets. As a fully certified ACCA, sometimes you find it difficult to get a job. Why? Because you don't have the experience. If you compare yourself with chartered accountants, they already have by default 4 years of practical experience. So when you compete with chartered accountant, in fact, I would say there is no competition. Many employers value experience just as much, if not more, than your qualification. If you're just starting out, you may find the need to prove yourself in your organization before advancing, despite holding ACCA qualification. Now, my recommendation, how you can beat this gap. The gap I'm talking about is like you, ACCA, having no experience and CS having 4 years of training. What you can do is, as soon as you finish your first 9 papers, make sure by this time you have somebody in your network who's working in the Big 4 or Big 7. It is mandatory for all ACCA students to work in Big 4 or Big 7 audit firms at least for a couple of years. Once you are done with this, you are a hot cake. Now you can go into any industry of your choice. But if you ACCA qualification without experience is nothing. I'm not demotivating you, I'm just telling you the truth. Another issue ACCA students face is the exam structure. You know that recently all the exams are online. What about students who are computer shy? What about students who don't have a very high typing speed? What about students who are not very well versed with Excel, with spreadsheets? So here what you can do is make sure you have enough practice on simulators. I'm talking about using ACCA Study Hub, or if you're studying with a professional teacher, they will provide you with proper ACCA mocks which are on a similar software, so that you understand on the day of exam what to expect on the screen, what tables to use, where are the tables, where are the calculators, how to type, where to type, so on and so forth. And one pro tip I would like to give you is, if you want to excel in your ACCA exams, apart from knowing the syllabus, you have to be very, very good at your typing speed, and you should be very proficient in Excel. The last issue with ACCA is unclear return on investment. And what do I mean by that? Look, while ACCA can open doors to many opportunities, the return on investment is not always clear, especially when you look at the cost of completing the qualification and the amount of time invested into the qualification. So when you look at these two, it does not always guarantee a highly paying job right away. So you have to have that patience. Many ACCA students find themselves working in roles which does not justify the time and money they have spent earning the certification. The key here is patience. What I suggest to all my students is, you have to be very careful when you're selecting an industry and a company within an industry. Make sure the company you're choosing understands the value of ACCA, has a clear progression path. Do not get carried away if you get a job in a small company, even if it is high paying. But let me tell you, smaller companies doesn't have hierarchies. They don't have career progression paths. They don't have adequate succession planning. So you may get stuck in a particular role for a long time without adequate promotions and incentives. So guys, I've tried to highlight most of the issues facing this qualification. While ACCA qualification is highly respected, but it's not sunshine and rainbows all the time. My suggestion to you is, let not these drawbacks and the darker side of ACCA scare you, as every qualification has its pros and cons. What you have to do is follow the suggestions I've given you. Definitely you will overcome these issues. So guys, do let me know whether you agree with the limitations I've just discussed with you. Also let me know how you found my suggestions to overcome these challenges. Guys, if you're not yet subscribed to my channel, please subscribe. That's one way to show that you value my work and you want to support my channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the bell button for more career insights. If you like this video, please share it with your dear and near ones so that others can also benefit. Thank you so very much for your precious time. Love you all.